Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and start discussing our new unit. We're going to be going into similar triangles. When we do this, we do need to learn about proportions or remind ourselves about proportions. Before we do that, we have to talk about ratios. A ratio is simply going to be a comparison of two quantities using division, usually expressed in simplest terms. We will always put this in simplest terms. So it's a comparison of two quantities, and we're going to put it in simplest terms. Your extended ratios are going to be 3 or more quantities. We won't see this a whole lot in this unit, but we will see it a little bit. Okay? When you write ratios, the ratio of quantities A and B, so let's say we got A and B, they can be expressed as A to B with the word to, A colon B, or a fraction form. When you use extended, you're going to notice we're going to be using, when we're writing these, if we're writing a ratio of A to B to C, what this means is the first two ratios is A to B. The second two quantities are B to C. And then you can also put the first quantity and third quantity A to C. Don't focus too much on what. Just, we're going to be looking at ratios written A colon B and in the fraction form, mostly in the fraction form. We'll be using the colon form when we're dealing with more, when we're doing the extended. Okay? So let's take a look first here at example number 1. Coach Jim's dad wants to make a cake for Mr. Barbary. The recipe for the small cake calls for 3 eggs, 1 cup, and 1 cup of sugar, and 2 cups of flour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go color coordinate like I always do, so you guys can see the differences here. We're going to have 3 eggs, we're going to have 1 cup of sugar, and we're going to have 2 cups of flour. So we're going to take these, and with the information provided below, we're going to write out these ratios. And I will write them out in fraction form as well as with the colon in between them. Okay, so here we're looking at first, we're going to look at eggs to sugar. So here I've got my eggs, which I put in my orange, to sugar. I have my dark blue. So written out, we have eggs is 3, and we put that to the number of how much sugar, 1 cup of sugar. So this is written out in the colon form. Now we write it out in fraction form. The first one will go on top, 3, to the second one, 1. Just like you write a fraction, if you would write 3 over 1, you'd write the 3 first, then the 1. Technically, this will simplify down to, if we're looking, we'll look at it later, scale factor, it'll simplify down to 3. But if you keep it as a ratio, you can leave it as 3 over 1. Next, we have eggs to flour. So here I'm looking at my eggs, which is going to be that 3 to flour, and flour here was 2. Okay? So if you want to see it in, we'll put the word or here. If you want to see it in fraction form, again, the first one listed always goes on top, or always comes first with the colon. And then the flour comes last, 3 over 2, and that is simplified. Can't do anything about that. Okay? So let's take a look at sugar to flour. So here we have sugar. So it comes first, so we're going to write it first, to flour, and our flour was 2. Or if we want to see it in the fraction form, we would have our sugar, the 1, on top, followed by flour 2 on bottom. It is simplified. We're not going to turn that into a decimal or anything. We'll leave it just as is. Okay? D is asking for a comparison of all 3. So this is where we cannot put it in a fraction form because fractions only have a numerator and denominator. You cannot put a line and another number underneath. It does not work that way. So the first thing we're looking at is we're just going to go in order. We're going to list flour first, which was 2. Put the colon. Then we have sugar next, which up here we're told the sugar is 1 cup, to eggs, which we saw up here, eggs was 3. And that's your final answer. You cannot put extended ratios into fractions. All right? So just review. Now let's start looking at a couple more here. And then we will take a look at actually doing the all right, guys, so the example here, we've got a lot of things going on here, right? We're going to have 40 trumpets. We're going to have 39 clarinets. We're going to have 24 violins. We're going to have 51 flutes. And we are going to have 16 trombones. So we're going to go ahead and write in these. I'm going to go pretty quickly through this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go the ratio of trumpets to violins. Okay, so here I'm going to write in fraction form since that's what we're going to be doing most of the time. Trumpets, we had 40. To violins, that we had 24. Now, we can simplify this, and we need to simplify this. Both of these are divisible by 8, and when you divide both of these by 8, you will come up with 5 over 3. I'll go ahead and write over here, or if you're doing with a colon, it could be 5 to 3. Next, we're looking at trombones, which we saw we had 16 of them. To our trumpets, which are trumpets, and make sure I got the right color right there, trumpets of 40. Again, this can be simplified and needs to be. Ironically, they're both divisible by 8 again, and this will come down to 2 over 5. Or we can write it as our ratio with the colon, 2 to 5. Okay, so those are the two different ways we can write that. Now we want flutes to total instruments. So here we have our flutes, which was 51. Now we need to go and we need to add all of these total instruments up. So all we have to do is 40 plus the 39 plus our 24 plus the 51 plus our 16. And I'll go ahead and help you out with this one. We're going to come up with a total of 170. So this will be our total. Okay, total instruments 170. 51 out of 70 is not going to simplify here. Okay, so we will just leave it as 51 over 70, or we can do it with the colon, 51 to 170. The last one, we're going to go ahead and do 3. So for this one, we cannot write in fraction form. We have to do this with the colon. Here, we're going to go ahead and start off with trumpets, which we were told was 40. We'll have that colon in between. Our violins was 24. Okay, so then we'll have 24, followed by that colon. And then our last one is going to be clarinets. And this will be 39. I've already checked. I'm pretty sure that we cannot simplify any of those. All right. So next, let's talk about proportions. Proportion is going to be an equation. It's going to be an equation, and it's going to be stating that two ratios are equal. So an example of what this would look like, we're going to use A, B, C, and D as our 4 different numbers, okay? So we'd have like A over B is equal to C over D. The important thing we have to remember is B cannot equal 0, D cannot equal 0, meaning the denominators cannot be zeros. Your cross-product property is what we call the butterfly method. We're going to be cross-multiplying the top left, bottom right, and then we're going to cross-multiply the top right, bottom left. So again, I'm just going to use these exact same letters here. A over B is equal to C over D. So it's called the butterfly method because when you cross-multiply, we're going to multiply these two, and because they're just letters, they're just going to equal to A times D equals, we're going to cross-multiply B times C, and we'll get BC. Now we take a look at the examples that we have here, and I know I'm moving fast. Just go ahead and pause and rewind, please. I usually like to start where the the variable is. We're going to cross multiply 6 times x and simply just get 6x, and then we're going to cross multiply that 4 times 21. A lot of students just go ahead and do that in the calculator rather than writing it out. That is fine. So now to 6x is equal to 84. Then all we do, we divide both sides, and we wind up that x is going to equal 14. When your variable is standing alone, you only have one, it's just multiply and divide. That's all it's going to be. Now something's going to change with the next one. Here, we're going to have x plus 3 times 5, so we're going to put that 5 outside the parentheses. X plus 3, we're going to have to do some distribution. Over here, we have 4 times 2x. 4x times 2, so we have 2 times that 4x. So here we distribute, 5 times x gives me 5x. 5 times a positive 3 gives me positive 15. This will be all equal to 2 times 4x is 8x. Okay, go ahead and solve it, and then resume. I am about to pause, and then the answer will pop up, so you need to pause it now. All right, this should have been our answer. Double check your work if you did not get this. Moving on to C. Example number C. Here I've only got a variable in one place. I'm going to go ahead and start here. I'm going to say 18 parentheses 3x plus 4, all equal to, cross product over here, we've got the 12 times the 15. Again, we're going to have to distribute 18 times 3x. 18 times 3 is going to give us 54. So we're going to want to put 54x, and we're going to multiply 18 times a positive 4. 18 times 4 will give us 72, so we'll have a positive 72. In the 12 times the 15, we put that in our calculator, we're going to get 180. Pause it now. Here's your chance to pause, work it out, and the answer is about to pop up. Ladies and gentlemen, here is your answer and your work. Double check your work. Now, I am going to go ahead and go over real quickly. I don't normally do this. Every now and then I do. I'm going to go over one problem on the assignment real quick because I want to make sure that you guys understand how the assignment's going to work here. The first couple problems, some of them just say the ratio. If I want the ratio, do exactly what we did at the beginning, setting it fraction or with the colon. Now, the reason I'm going over this very, very quickly is because we are going to actually be using proportions for the first one here, and number 1, 4, and 5 will use proportions. Here we're looking at Fernando conducted a survey of 50 students driving to school and found that 28 owned cars. Well, if 755 students drive, we want to say how many students own cars. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at 50 students driving. So we're looking at driving students, okay, over the 28 that own cars. So driving students and owning cars. So we're going to set up the first ratio of 50 over 28. I have the number of students driving, 50. How many owned the cars? 28. We will set that equal to, here we're told that 755 students drive to school. So that 755 is going to go up here with the drive. So 755 over, we want to predict the number of students who own cars. So we don't know, so that's where our variable is going to be. Now that you have this set up, all we do is cross multiply and solve. I'm not going to work that through. I just want to make sure you saw how to set it up. If you have any questions, please ask your teacher, and good luck.